foundation work at Massey's, tower rollout preparations at Sanchez, Ship 30 tile work at the build site, and destruction at the launch site. Hi, I'm Jeffy, and we'll take a look at these and much more in this week's Starbase Flyover Update, episode 48. Let's get started over at Massey's. Take a look at Proky's map to get your bearings. Beginning at the structural test area, we can see some vertical beams for the next section of the new can crusher have been staged, ready for assembly. Moving to the left, we can see a large pile of blue rods. These are meant to replace the cables that were originally used for the hats of the can crusher test stand to apply pressure to the test article. It's speculated that these blue rods can be extended in length so as to test different length articles on the new stand. At the new structural test stand, propellant lines have been installed to the top of the current height of the stand. Moving down, the former building previously located here has been removed entirely within the span of a week. At the Massey's fabrication building, we can see foundations are being constructed at the back of the building for a possible expansion. And as always, concrete expansion continues on the right side of the Massey's test site. Starting off with this shot of Sanchez, these two horizontal cryo tanks are speculated to be additions for the orbital tank farm's methane section. At the booster transport stands, we can see work is continuing on the third stand with additional welding on the top. Further up, access platforms for Megabay 2 are being constructed, as well as platforms for Star Factory to the side, which can be seen in this zoomed out photo. Moving on to the tower sections, we can see platforms are being installed around each of the four corners. This is so workers can weld the seams between each level. Finally, at the rocket garden, the ship cryo stand is on SPMTs indicating transport to the high bay. We can soon expect Ship 31 to be loaded onto this stand for another go and cryogenic testing at Massey's. Have a look at this map before we make our way around the site. First, starting at Megabay 2, the majority of the white steel beams staged in this area last week have now been installed around the side of the bay as access platforms for workers. Inside the bay itself, the two left ship workstations can be seen as well as the previously mentioned steel beams staged in the centre. Moving on to this shot of Megabay 1, there have been no noticeable changes with booster 12, 13, 14 and 15, the latter of which is an aft section away from having its LOX tank stacked. Outside the bay, covers for booster chines can be seen. Before moving on to the high bay, we notice in this shot that the parking garage is being painted with the same black colour as the Star Factory. As captured by Lab Padre's rover cam, the ship cryo stand was rolled into the high bay on June 30th to pick up Ship 31 and move it to Massey's for a second round of cryo testing. If you recall, Ship 31 was called Sparky after its first cryo test had issues. Now looking at the other end of the build site, additional groundwork has been piled up in this location to form the water retention wall. Finishing up at the office building, the area between it and the Star Factory has seen additional concrete footings appearing around the plot of land SpaceX doesn't currently own. This is a good sign that SpaceX plans to acquire the land imminently, either in court or by paying the full amount. Let's look at this week's labelled map by Proky. Starting at Orbital Pad B, we can see steady progress is being made on the base for Tower 2. We can now see that the main tower base has its panels all loosely installed, and welders should be working along the panel seams to form solid walls that can be filled with concrete. Looking closely at the base, we can see that the 4 brackets have been installed in the middle of each wall that will attach to the diagonal braces of Tower Module 1. Looking at the legs, we can also see the concrete in the void between the tower foot piece and the outer structure of the leg. Moving below, we can see 2 wall panels staged that will be part of the walls that wrap around the back of the tower to protect the drawworks winch and other hardware. Nearby, steel beams are waiting to be installed. A sub-assembly is taking shape, likely part of an internal level of the tower base. On June 29th, the frame would be further assembled and lifted into the base of the tower. The square spot that has been dewatered shows no changes this week. However, between it and the towers, it appears a transport path has been prepared, possibly for staging tower modules for stacking. A transport closure at midnight July 3rd was thought to be for B12 to arrive for testing on the OLM. However, we would instead see Module 1 of the second orbital launch tower make its way to the launch site. Looking to the other side of the tower, the CFA drill continues to install piles. What's mostly noticeable this week is that we can make out the locations of many of the piles. While we don't see the piles themselves, we can see circles of darker soil that covers each pile. Before we move on, we can see the fully upright CC8800-1. Last week we saw the suborbital tank farm berm nearly gone. This week it's no longer. As they move ahead with work, we see the concrete slab that was suborbital pad A has been broken up all the way to the base of the ramp. It seems they are preparing to lower the grade in this area in preparations for the systems that will support orbital pad B. Moving to the orbital tank farm, we can see the new LOX tank has now been set on its pedestals. Pipework can also be seen extending in line with the tank, and a frame assembly containing valve systems for the tank can be seen here. Sliding down to the scrapping area, we can see many pieces of steel that have been flattened that await being taken away. Suspended by the LR11000 crane, we can see GSE-3 has been staged for scrapping. Crews would make quick work of this tank, and the final tank would be hooked up to the crane on June 29th. Looking to orbital pad A, we once again see an empty OLM, as B14.1 was removed following testing of the chopstick catch systems. The hose used to pressurise B14.1 can be seen, though it was later lifted off the OLM. And that's it for episode 48 of Starbase Flyover Update. Thank you for choosing to fly with RGV aerial photography, and I hope you all enjoyed the flight. If you liked what you saw today, please subscribe for more episodes and content so you don't miss out on the new videos each week. To receive the latest images and to join in the conversations on the day they are taken, please consider joining RGV's Patreon. I'm Jeff A, and I'll see you next week from 10,500 feet.